Hey girls, it's Katie. This is going to be a video about our birth plan. I love watching I love hearing about other people's plans and hopes for their births. And I'm super excited to do this one. I'm super excited to have the experience of labor and delivery. It's always something I've dreamed about, and I just can't wait to have that challenge and have that experience. So I'm just totally thrilled. Most of the stuff is pretty controversial. Everybody comes up with, different choices based on what's best for their families. This is just what we think might be best for us at this point. And really the most important thing is just for everybody to be on the same page and to be comfortable with what you decide. So I'm not trying to start debates about specific things, but I did just want to share sort of our process and what we came up with. Where we started is that our midwife suggested the two of us sitting down and sort of just open-endedly describing sort of what's most important for me, what's most important for Mike, and what's most important for the baby, from our perspective, obviously. So we did this, and I said that my top thing was freedom of movement, and Mike's was that he wants my choices to be respected. And for the baby, we feel that having as little separation as possible after the birth is the best. So working off of those sort of three priorities, there are all these templates online that are sort of checkbox style. Some are pretty long and extensive, and sort of under each subheading, there are different options, and you sort of pick the ones that appeal most to you. So we did use one of those to sort of work off of and have conversations to make sure that we sort of didn't miss any big areas. But what we ended up doing is just actually typing up, I don't know if you can really tell, a few paragraphs, a couple of bullet points about specific things, but it's sort of like narrative style and just a single page. We really wanted it to sort of be in our own language and for it to be positive. I've heard of other people's plans where their approach is sort of like, we don't want this, we don't want this, and we just wanted to sort of come from the perspective of, this is what we hope for, this is what we're wishing for, and sort of establishing like a mutual respect. So we started off first thanking the nursing staff. And both of our moms, both Mike and my mom, are nurses, or were nurses. And we know sort of what a hard job it is and what an important role nurses are going to play in our experience. So we started off by thanking them, and like I said, we just try to keep a positive tone. Things we didn't include are things that are sort of standard for our hospital, or that our midwife has told us are sort of standard for her births, unless our wishes were different. But things that we've talked about that we know that aren't going to be an issue. It's not an issue at our hospital to have to play music, to dim the lights, to go in the shower. Our hospital is baby friendly, which means that they really strongly encourage breastfeeding, and they cannot or will not give your baby a bottle or a pacifier without written consent. So we're sort of not concerned about those things since we are breastfeeding exclusively. That fits really well with sort of what we already want, so that's covered. Also rooming in the mother-baby unit, all babies are with their mothers, with their parents, 24/7. So unless there's a health problem that requires them to go to a nursery, but the general protocol is that everybody rooms in. So that's another thing we didn't need to address. Our plan is really to labor at home as long as possible. I love when I hear about people who, are able to cope really well and labor at home for a long time and be comfortable and sort of be on your own terms. And then when they finally feel like they can't do it alone anymore, they go to the hospital and they're 9 or 10 centimeters and they get to just push and, sort of have the backup of the hospital at that crucial moment, but they've really been able to have the experience that they want up until that point. And that, to me, that sounds ideal. So that is our plan. We are planning to labor at home just as long as I possibly can. And our midwife is totally comfortable with that. She said generally we'll just be in phone contact, and she said that she can normally tell from the tone of someone's voice when it's time to come in. She can generally tell, where you are in labor and how far along you are and when you're going to need sort of more support. So she said normally the way it goes is when she hears that in your voice, she'll suggest coming in, and normally she'll just call the unit and come meet us right at the entrance to the labor and delivery, and just go straight to her room. So we get to sort of bypass triage if things go according to that plan, like she said that they normally do. So for me, that's good. For people who aren't working with midwives at our hospital, generally people come into sort of like the triage, like the curtain area, and you get continuous monitoring for at least 20 minutes to sort of establish a baseline. Your family is not allowed to be with you at that time. And for me, I think that would be pretty cool if I could not have that. Oh, also for a midwife, eating and drinking is fine. I did reiterate that on our written plan because I do want to really avoid an IV. So again, we started with thanks. We also didn't call it birth plan. We called it hopes for the birth of our baby. Of course, nothing goes according to plan exactly. We could have a really firm idea of how we would like things to go, and then, our things could change just in the moment. So we're just looking at it more of like a broad, this is our ideal. So I did put in a sentence right at the beginning saying that we have prepared for an uncomplicated vaginal birth, fingers crossed, using movement, massage, and relaxation techniques instead of pain medication. So I am planning to have an unmedicated birth. That's sort of always been my thought. I've said before, my mom had 3 unmedicated births, and I always just felt like it's possible, and I feel capable, and that's something that I want to do. I'm also super sensitive to medication, and I just really don't like the way most drugs make me feel. I have a lot of side effects, so for me, all around, I think it's playing it safe to avoid as much of that as possible. I said again what our main goals are: freedom of movement and for little separation from the baby. One or both of our moms might be present, so we put their names in, just so the nurses are a little bit more familiar with who's around. We said if complications occur, we just would like to have as much information as possible and then have some time privately to make decisions without pressure. And then, of course, I've had to put in a little section about cesarean. If that is necessary for some reason, we want to be together. Something that's important to me is I have really poor vision, and I really, it's like a nightmare, sort of a nightmare scenario for me to think about going into a surgery without being able to see. So I think generally you have to take out contacts. So I put in here that I really need to wear my glasses because I think it would be pretty terrifying to not be able to see anything during like a big invasive procedure. So that's really important. And then again, with a C-section, we want to have physical contact immediately. If I can't do it, Mike would, and we want to stay together in the recovery room and to breastfeed as soon as possible. Then there's a short list of our other wishes as the health of mother and baby allow. That's the language we used. So Mike and I want to stay together as much as possible, hopefully at all times, but you never know. I want to stay hydrated by drinking fluids instead of having an IV. I want to wear my own clothes. I want to have intermittent monitoring of the heartbeat. Be free to walk and move around in the room, in the unit. I want to ask for pain medication if I want it, instead of having it offered. I want to use a birthing ball and a squatting bar if they're available. They do exist, but I think they have a limited number, so ideally that's something we'll sort of reserve in advance when we're planning to get to the unit. When we get to pushing, I'd like to push when I feel the urge, and in whatever position feels right at the time. And we'd like to use hot compresses and other methods to prevent tearing, and avoid episiotomy. And I would like to both see and feel the baby's head as it crowns, and we've been told that that's sort of standard in this hospital too. After the birth, we want to do skin to skin immediately. Again, that's sort of a given at this hospital. We want to wait until the umbilical cord stops pulsating before it's clamped and cut. Banking or donating cord blood is not an option where we live, so I feel like otherwise it's just going to go to waste, so I'd rather have the cord blood go to the baby. We'd like to breastfeed as soon as possible, which we know will be well supported, but with that, sort of having an hour of uninterrupted bonding time, and sort of delay any of the routine procedures that they might do right after the birth. So we would wait an hour to get weight and bath and all that kind of stuff, right? We'd like to try to deliver the placenta without medication, and if any separation becomes necessary, I would like Mike to stay with the baby. So that's it, and we thank them again, and ask that if there's any questions that they approach us. Something not mentioned that I know people will probably ask about, if the baby is a boy, where are we about circumcision? Well, first off, our hospital does not do circumcisions. I think they used to, but they don't do them anymore. So if we do have a boy, that's not an issue right off the bat anyways. Mike and I have an opinion about circumcision. Mike doesn't so much, and so I can say that as a couple we have not fully decided. We may have a girl and it's not going to be an issue. But regardless, we're gonna have more time to think about it after the fact, after the birth. So I think that's all I want to say at this point. I know this is a really hot issue, and even when we do make a decision, I'm not sure that I'm going to share something that private about the baby on YouTube. I don't know. I mean, obviously I share personal stuff about me, but that's me, so I'm not sure how much I'm going to share about my son's personal, really personal stuff like that on here. We'll see. I'm sure I've missed other things that people have questions about. If anything specific, just ask away. Can't wait to put our plans and wishes into action. Thanks for watching, everybody.